Okay, now we're in hour 2. Did anybody else have anything to share? I know Maciej he was going to mention the working with a secondary keyboard, but if someone else has something, speak now.
Apparently not.
Yeah. Okay, Maciej, you want to go ahead and continue and discuss?
Yeah, sure.
On a secondary keyboard.
Yeah, sure. With pleasure. I have found this topic in particular interesting because we developed also another application in our company, which maybe I will present next month. But currently, I would like to share with you the concept of cockpit, a plane cockpit. I mean airplane cockpit. I have found some time ago a film on YouTube where it was presented that one of the most complicated technical entity, which is software, in fact uses quite cumbersome interface. And let's imagine for a moment Microsoft Word, where we have ribbon menus, and after pressing of the buttons in the menus, we get another menus from which we choose finally a function. Sometimes to get the desired function, one have to click several times, up to 5, 6, maybe even 7 times. From the other hand, let's imagine now an airplane and a cockpit of an airplane, the place where pilot sits on his chair. In the front of him and also above him and below him, there are plenty of switches, buttons, and even pedals maybe. But thanks to this solution, pilot can very quickly, instantly, just by pressing of one button, trigger particular function of a plane. Let's imagine that the same functionality is enabled just on a small 15-inch screen. And pilot would like to now prepare a plane for landing. Looking over the menu to find the appropriate function will take a lot of time. And the concept of a cockpit is in fact just in world of personal PC, the second keyboard, or maybe third keyboard or additional keyboard. So the next keyboard where keys are permanently linked to specific functions. And I would like to show it to you, what I did some time ago. Hopefully it is visible. This is old keyboard coming from beginning of 90s, which have not been used for several years. And I decided to use it as a second keyboard.
Very cool. Yeah.
Each key of this keyboard has unique label, which I have prepared by myself. And additionally, each key triggers a separate AutoHotkey script, which do some specific thing. Well, in fact, this keyboard, which I keep now in my hands, is used just to work more conveniently with Microsoft Word. How to do that? How to make possible that the second keyboard is not recognized by operating system as just a keyboard? Because probably you know that Windows operating system handle all keyboards, no matter how many of them are connected to a PC, as the same input device. So if you have 5 keyboards and you press letter P on the third keyboard, it is still recognized by operating systems as a letter P. No matter from which keyboard input comes, it is always recognized as just a letter. And again, YouTube delivered a solution to me. It is possible to use ordinary keyboard as this one, which I have shown to you, and Arduino microcontroller board to catch event of pressing a key, and then thanks to AutoHotkey encapsulating this pressed key with some specific keys, for example, F13, which is outside of ordinary keyboard spectrum of keys. And this trick enables me to use a second keyboard and recognize pressed keys as something unique to operating system. I don't know if I make it clear to you.
Yeah, you do. We just recently did a video on that, right, Joe?
Right. That's what gave.
So,
I think initially he saw we did that and you know realized he's done something similar. So yeah.
Yeah. So I decided to go this way, as Arduino board is damn cheap and available almost in a shop in the corner. So I just used it as a solution to the challenge how to have more functions. But what you also can see very quickly, I have found a limit of this solution. Ordinary keyboard has just about 100 keys.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them have 120, as this one which you Joe have shown recently, this Microsoft Touch. Yeah, this one. Maybe this one has 120, maybe. Yeah. But it's still not enough for me. I have quickly found that I need more keys. What to do next? And again, YouTube delivered to me a solution. Maybe you have heard about it. There was a solution called Maximus Optimus keyboard. The Maximus Optimus keyboard was developed in Russia, in Moscow, but by a group of talented designers, which proposed keyboard where each key has LCD screen, inbuilt LCD screen. So very small LCD screen on each key. And there is a interface which enable assigning an icon to specific key. Later, with pressing of some keys, you can change the layers. So the idea is that on our ordinary keyboard, we have also option to change the layers, which is not obvious because we use it every day so frequently that maybe we even miss the concept. Pressing of a shift keys, in fact, change a layer of a keyboard. And when you press shift, then you get access to another layer. So now with this Maximus Optimus keyboard, it was possible to quickly change not only a layer, but also an icon, which replaces a label. My keyboard is static. I have constant set of labels on each key. Thanks to electronic device like Maximus Optimus keyboard, one can display different set of icons dedicated to specific keys, and this solves the problem of limited number of keys on ordinary keyboard. But there is always a but. Maximus Optimus keyboard was not a commercial success because it was extremely expensive. If I remember correctly, full-size keyboard was sold at the price of 1,500 euros. So it's beyond the at least my limit.
Yeah, yeah.
Couple of years later, a company called Elgato prepared another solution called Stream Deck, Elgato Stream Deck, which in fact was and is still is it is possible to buy it, and it is a huge commercial success. It is a small-sized touch screen, and a touch screen can be used for the same purpose, to be used as on-screen keyboard. And now let me present it. I prepared an application written in AutoHotkey, which runs on a small touch screen. This touch screen is of this size, as you can see. It's I think it's less than 8 inches, and such a touch screen is available in particular for Raspberry Pi platform. And if you decide to buy it directly from China, its cost is less than 50 bucks. It's something like between 40 and 50 bucks. Mm-hmm. So the price is reasonable. Now, thanks to AutoHotkey, you get the ability to have many layers.
Nice.
And if you keep it just aside of your primary keyboard, it is quite useful. The next step in development of second keyboard is to make it context sensitive. Mm-hmm. So, I personally use all these scripts which have been prepared in AutoHotkey, again, mainly to work with Microsoft Word. I'm able to catch where the cursor is, where the pointer is, and if the pointer is inside the table, I immediately call layer dedicated to table where I have some enhancements, or it makes working with tables easier. When I'm in a comment section, I call another layer. When I'm editing a picture, I call another layer, and it works automatically.
You know what? And it's funny because and don't take this the wrong way, because I used to own IHateTheRibbon.com when Microsoft first created the ribbon, because I like to set anything, but you're basically doing like what the ribbon does, right? It interprets where you are and gives you different stuff. The problem is Microsoft dictates what that's, at least they used to, and it was never right for me. And so it just really confused me. However, I totally get how when you're controlling it, you can say, I want this and this and this and this here if I'm here. And it's, of course, because you built it, right? It's going to make sense. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, what I miss a lot is in AutoHotkey is a sentence that would be a kind of a symbol of this application. And for me, this sentence is, let's make a PC personal again. Because what I miss in Windows is that, well, there are plenty of possibilities to manage it, to configure it, but it is cumbersome. And for some applications like Microsoft Word, I miss a lot possibility, for example, to move a ribbon aside of the main screen. At work, I used to work with at least 2 full screens and additional laptop screen. It would be great to have in Microsoft Word possibility to move ribbons aside of the main screen and move it, for example, to the side screen. So I did it myself. Thanks to AutoHotkey and thanks to the fact that Microsoft Word has this I don't know how to call it, library or API, it is possible to call separate functions with separate keys. And it really makes life easier because quicker. For example, one of the functions which I love in Microsoft Word are building blocks. But I don't know if you on everyday routine use it. It is cumbersome because to enter even one, let me show it because maybe it will be beneficial to all of us to see how it works. So here I have Microsoft Word with, oh no, you don't see it. One moment, I will share my screen again. Okay. So now you should see Microsoft Word, and there is deeply hidden insert, quick parts, second click. I clicked already twice. Third click, building blocks organizer. Now this window cannot be enlarged. And this is pain in the ass because what you would like to do next is just to find something useful. For example, what I would like to do is to sort it by particular template, and then I have to push or click insert button. And finally, I have building block in my document. So what I did, one moment. I have building blocks already ready to be triggered from this on-screen keyboard. And thanks to the fact that it is application script, I can move it freely from this small touch screen to any other screen. So now I have enlarged it to show to you that particular building blocks are connected to particular buttons. So it is 5, maybe even more clicks less to put particular building block into the document. And it really makes life easier.
That's awesome, man. Very cool. We had a couple questions on so backing up a step. How are you connecting to the touch screen? Is it through a USB interface? Is that how you're? Yeah,
this is frequently asked question to me. This is just ordinary HDMI interface screen, but I use, maybe I can show it to you right now. I use such an interface which from one end has I don't know if it's visible because it's quite dark in my room.
That's okay, but it's
maybe
an HDMI and a.
Let's make more light here. It's from one end it's HDMI.
Yeah.
From the second end it's USB 3.
Cool.
And this is interface just for transmitting of video. I need second port, which is ordinary USB, no matter 2, 1, or 3, which is used to power this screen, to provide power to this screen, and also to provide information about touch. So in fact, this is also an input interface. So after all, you need 2 cables. It's up to you if you would like to consume quite precious HDMI port and use it straight without interface, or if, as me, you would like to have HDMI port ready for some other devices, you can apply for several bucks available on the market such an interface, HDMI to USB 3.0.
Well, Jackie, do you recall, was it in a webinar, but Ryan Wells had showed me how to extend your, use your phone via, I believe it was, I can't remember if it was Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, but it allowed me to use it as another display. And literally with AutoHotkey, I was clicking buttons and doing a similar, general what you're doing, but it wasn't layered like you're doing, but it still is a general approach. But then you wouldn't.
The thing, you could do it with Bluetooth, sure enough, my phone stuff. And Windows has most of it built in. And as soon as you build this stuff in AutoHotkey, as you have done here, the full interface with clickable areas, then you're no longer really sending keyboard input, and you don't need to determine which keyboard it comes from, because you're just clicking straight up AutoHotkey buttons on a GUI. So it's a smart way of getting access to a grid of functions. Sure. Yeah.
Today, I just wanted to show you some concepts, how this secondary keyboard can evolve, how it can be developed to something else, which
it's awesome.
Not fully mimics even keyboard. What I announced also to Joe some time ago is that we use Neutron for the purpose of interface, and thanks to that we have this scalability of the icons and the whole interface.
It's simply a web interface.
Yes, this is Trident, so Internet Explorer. Because let me show you something else. What can you also do and use for the any screen, any ordinary screen, is an overlay, touch overlay. It looks like this.
Yeah.
You can buy it also in China quite cheaply. You just put it on ordinary screen, mount it with 2-sided tape or with some clips. It uses again USB interface, and then you can convert ordinary screen into the touch screen. As I told you that I work with several screens at work, full size screens. It used to be beneficial to me for some time to use one of the screens just as just for the purpose of on-screen keyboard. But nowadays, I'm more convinced, and this is just my personal preference, to use this small touch screen. You know, when you are pointing by a finger, as I'm doing right now, it has some advantages. For example, your muscles support your memory, and keeping the same icons on the same positions and pointing with a finger supports your memory. But from the other hand, you have to dedicate the whole big screen just for the purpose of on-screen keyboard. So this is just a personal preference. Some people in my team prefer to work with this small touch screen, which is just a side of primary keyboard. Some of them prefer to have this overlay touch on full screen.
Mm-hmm.
At least these options are available, and they are not expensive.
Well, and they're both infinitely better than trying to dig through those menus you were doing, right? And
Yeah.
of course, what you're doing, but we all have the things we do a lot, right? And that's where that whole video that Jackie and I did, it stemmed because I was watching a video and this guy's like, hey, look at this cool keyboard I got. And there's only like, do you remember, Jackie? It was like $200 or some more. And there was like 12 buttons or something. I mean, it was ridiculous to me, the price.
Yeah. It was.
And so
one final word. I prepared the whole thread on the AutoHotkey forum dedicated to this concept. If you like, you can read about it more.
Can you throw that in the chat, please?
Yes, but at first I have to stop sharing my screen because the other way I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So I will do it in a minute.
Sure. Now, when you say that this is your code, or this is one that you learned from?
This is my code.
Okay. Thank you.
The application is called AutoHotkey. And to be honest, I'm not ready to show it today. Maybe on the next webinar, I will say more. If you or other participants of our webinar will find it interesting.
Oh, I think it's, it's really cool because you're again thinking outside the box, right? It's just stuff that we haven't covered before necessarily, and realizing, I love the line you said earlier. I wrote it down. Let's make a PC personal again, right? Because it to me, it really connected with me, because that is what AutoHotkey does, right? In so many ways, it allows us to change what someone else has done and use the computer the way we want to use it, right? So
so let's change the sentence to let's make the computer personal again, because saying PC,
I understand, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's a lot of great examples here. Though, you know what confused me? That's what I think in one of your emails, you mentioned both of these things, and that's where I got a little confused when you were going across your other tool with the hot strings. I thought you were saying the hot strings were context sensitive, and then when you were demonstrating them, they weren't. And to me, I was going to ask you earlier, did you consider having each library is separate, and that way it reduced the amount of things that came up, or at least making that
no, not yet, but it is a nice concept. I will think about it.
It's at least something. A toggle button would be nice, right? Do I want to have everything, or just the one I'm working in? Because some people might find it overwhelming. Like, I never use those, right? That's just extra stuff. I'd like to just disable them, just focus on what I'm doing. But anyway, because I love that whole context sensitive kind of thing of it's smart enough to know what I'm doing.
Yeah, maybe I will try to no. It's hard to show how, because I have this context sensitiveness implemented in this application. By the way, this application is called AutoHotkey, which is anagram of Elgato on purpose.
Now I'm just asking here, the device that you have here, and all of the setup that we've just talked about, and I explained it a bit in the chat at least. To me, I might not have listened well enough. It seems as if it's a touch screen, and you have simply dragged an AutoHotkey GUI to that touch screen and is then touching buttons.
Yes,
It isn't really any more complex than that.
yes, this is as simple as that.
Yeah,
exactly. This is as simple as that. So I can, as I presented, I can drag this window, this application, outside of this dedicated screen to any other screen as it is right now. So yeah, this is how, this is the, so there is really no rocket science behind. This is just additional screen with touch functionality and a graphical user interface prepared by AutoHotkey, which triggers separate scripts. Thanks to this GUI, it's easy to combine icon with script. And this is what is the main benefit of this application. So it can dynamically link different icons, which are SVG files, so vector graphics. Thanks to this fact, the icons are scalable, and I can freely move the window and change its size, and also icons change its size as well. That's it. So it's very simple, and you are not forced to work with touch, with touch screen. You can keep this window on ordinary screen, on primary or secondary screen, and just use a mouse to click buttons. But my personal experience shows that this is not so feasible to click with a mouse. It's for me, it's much easier to use a hand.
Yeah, I love this setup. Nothing there, totally, and think it's a great thing to show off here, because as Joe he said, it was kind of thinking out the box, and that is what it is. It's adding a touch screen and getting quite a lot of efficiency out of it. So yeah.
Yeah, what was is Alibaba, is that, I'm trying to remember where I was looking before. Dale was asking for a good place to look for some of these things.
Wish, maybe.
Wish? I've never heard of that.
Oh, that's big in Europe. Fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, it's the same. It's Alibaba, it's Alibaba Express, it's BB, it's Wish. It's all entrances into buying directly from China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks again, man. This was really very fun and interesting stuff you shared today. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's great.
And now we got the link. Cool.
That's good. Are we about there, Joe, or
are
we taking more questions? Or
does anyone have anything they wanted help with, or anything to share? Or learning muscle memory, yeah.
I'm uploading a picture to the chat of my desktop keyboard setup. I'm kind of a wide-shouldered guy and used to love the Microsoft keyboard back in the day, but it wasn't really quite angled enough. And I found this Kinesis freestyle keyboard that I really like. It's completely split, and you can put them as wide and as you want and whatever angle you want. But it turns out that boy, that muscle memory thing completely screws you when one of the keyboards twists 10 degrees, you know? And so you look like you don't even know how to type when you're, when one of the keyboards gets a little bit out of alignment. So I put them on a sheet of glass and adjusted and adjusted and adjusted until I got it, you know, really where it was comfortable to me. I 3D printed a little platform for my Stream Deck and raised it up to the highest level I could in the gap there, put a numeric keypad at an angle so that when my right elbow is planted, I can swing my arm without raising my right elbow and move from the home keys on the numpad and the home keys on the right keyboard. And then I took a picture of that whole setup from underneath the glass, put that picture into CAD, and turned that into a design that I laser cut a plastic template that each of the feet of the different keyboards and my Stream Deck platform fit in. And so now everything stays exactly where I want it. And nobody but me can use it, but it's awesome. I sit down, everything's right where I want it. The whole thing might twist a little bit, but you know, just like a regular keyboard, I just grab it and, you know, twist it back.
Right.
But that setup has really worked well for me.
Very cool.
So yeah, I can imagine if he could squeeze his cool little display board, you know, in the middle of that somewhere, maybe just behind the keyboards or, you know, something. But I'm doing a similar thing with the Stream Deck to what he's talking about. Although, you know, his thing is very, very cool, much cooler, I think, than the Stream Deck.
Well, and the fact that, you know, if it's the digital, you can swap it out, right? Depending what program you're in, change it. That's what I really got me excited. Was like, wow, in the buttons can literally change, so you don't have to remember the third button over and this one is this, you know, even if you did, because we could do it with AutoHotkey, we could programmatically change what they do, but we wouldn't have the labels change. But on that, you know, display, that's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
If I can add a word, what we see here is an original Stream Deck, and you can find on YouTube short clips showing dismounting of this Stream Deck, and it is shown there that what is behind those keys which we see is just a touch screen.
Yeah.
So this is a reverse engineering, in fact.
It's brilliant. Each little button is sort of like a clear lens, and so as you look at the buttons up close, they're sort of magnifying the underlying single display, just as he's saying, it's just a single display back there. And when you push a button down, there's something on the back of that plastic lens that the display senses as a finger touch. Right. So it's an ingenious solution. Although honestly, I don't see the real big benefit of having physical buttons where, I mean, it's a cool solution, but the flexibility you get and no wasted space that you get from the display that you created, I think is better.
Yeah, one of the things you get with physical buttons is that you can actually get a better sense of haptic feedback.
That's true.
You can also more easily know without looking where your hands are at, because you can have indicators like on your keyboard. You can feel those on the J and the F keys, as an example.
Jackie, were Blackberries big in Denmark? Because, you know, we used to have the physical keyboards on our phones, and then when it switched to the smart one, I'm like, I was useless for quite a while. But anyway.
I was thinking about this haptic feedback, and well, in my company there are working also electronic engineers, and I tried. I even started a discussion and ordered some of the small electric engines, which in fact are responsible for this feedback. I already have them because I ordered them again quite cheap in China. Maybe someday I will try to enhance touch screens also with this haptic engines. But for time being, even without this feedback, ordinary touch screen is quite helpful. Give it a try.
Yeah. Really, you could laser cut a bezel or a template that goes over the touch screen that just leaves small fingertip size wells,
Right.
that you then line all your buttons up with, and then you get the sense of, the feel of these are where the buttons are. And that's pretty low tech, but
but what was my idea is for some layers you would like to have more buttons than from the others.
Yeah.
And with Stream Deck it's impossible because it's static. It's once configured and that's it. You cannot change the size of the button. Thanks to the AutoHotkey scripting, it is possible to define different sizes of buttons for different layers. And it's also helpful, believe me, because I work with this solution for some time.
Well, that's what I like about the flexibility of your solution, even though it does kind of leave behind the physical feel that Jackie was talking about. So anyway,
and
pros and cons.
Final word in this thread, which I provided link in a chat. I also show other solutions which mimic Stream Deck. Mine is not the only one on the market. There are more on the market. Well, this is not the market because it's open source. So there are other solutions, open source solutions prepared by other people. For example, applying Raspberry Pi as an interface, or again, Arduino. Behind my idea was simplicity. So this is, as Jackie said, just touchscreen connected to ordinary PC and AutoHotkey script.
Very cool.
Man. Yeah, and I think that's the important part here, right? It's just a matter of laying a screen flat on your desk and displaying whatever you like with AutoHotkey on it. And Windows will take care of all the rest, right? There's no reason to really think about it being touches versus mouse clicks. It's a matter of having the buttons with that underlying functionality that you're wishing for. That is the basis of what this is, and then you can pull it in all kinds of directions, but instead of having the screen in front of you that you would touch, you're just having it on the table, and that's it. You get this great functionality that was just shown and explained here.
Hey, Maciej, just I found that script, by the way, and I put the link in the chat, but this is the example script from the forum. And so if we're doing an insert anywhere in here, if I start typing the word letters, right, it'll trim it down. It can be anywhere. You can have it as it has to match the left, the right, exact. Ordered characters is interesting because you have to get the order right. So I can say CIFTO, and I'm just looking at these, right, but it's trimming it down. And then these engrams look for the size of how many letters you type, right, and it'll trim it. So it's a very fun script with a lot of working examples of different ways you can match on. Mm-hmm. So something to think about. Like the in alone, to me, because that way at least I don't have to search at the very first word. It could be searching anywhere. Because I remember the word official was in there. Oh, there it is. That's what I want, right? But the engrams and stuff also are pretty dark, and regex, of course. But yeah, it's in the chat.
Yeah, thank you for this suggestion. It looks nice, and definitely I will look into it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. This was an amazing webinar with some. I didn't expect, especially this keyboard stuff too. That was very, very cool. They were both really cool. So thank you, Maciej, for sharing.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. Thanks for showing up. We'll see you next month. And as always, bring something if you. I see there's some chat here. Sorry.
Thanks everybody and stuff. So most of the rest have been answered. And stuff.
Yeah. Real quickly, how does it react to the multiple touches versus continuous touch? Is there a way to detect how long you're clicking something? Would that just be part of the GUI?
I'd say if you keep your mouse pushed down on a website button, what does it do? There is in that case no special functionality. It will just keep showing the button as down.
Right.
There's no difference between the tab and the mouse click. Yeah. So if you click the button with your mouse, what would you expect it to do? That's what you get. It would be the same thing in this case. Yeah, unless you programmed something different.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Cool.
It's the same with when you keep your keyboard key down. It's actually the keyboard driver that's making it repeat. It's not hardware things. It's the driver that's just keeps track of it being down for a specific amount of time, and then it starts repeating the key.
Interesting.
It's not hardware.
But what if I push really hard?
Yeah. I don't think keyboards take that into considerations, but newer touch devices do. And again, Windows knows if the screen tells it that it's being pushed hard, or if it's being pushed with a wide touch, or the finger is smudging or moving, and all of those things are things you can intercept and make actions happen by.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Jerry. And thank you, everyone else. We'll see you guys next month. Bye-bye.
Absolutely.